Yeah, I mean, definitely shocked. As I said, they whooped us on every aspect. They beat us, and that's not something you ever think about or ever envision happening. But it's something we'll learn from. We'll learn from every aspect of it: offense, defense, special teams, situationally, especially. And we've just got to be better. We've got to play a cleaner game. We've got to start faster in a noon game like this, and they did a better job at it.
One of the big stunners for Week 9, and Charean was there to watch the Denver Broncos exact vengeance. About 40 years too late, 45 years or so too late for Super Bowl 12. Yeah. The Broncos all over the Cowboys, and we mentioned that because we have our big surprises coming from Week 9, a week which had a ton of surprises. And Charean, you're up first, and obviously I've spoiled the surprise as to what your first surprise is.
Well, it is Dak Prescott, Mike, and I was there in the press conference after the game, and I asked him specifically, did your calf injury have anything to do with the performance you had today? And he said, my calf had nothing to do with this entire game, which means basically he sucked because he sucked. And it may have been some rust. Look, he had the injury in week 6, and then that was the last game he played. He didn't practice very much. As I said earlier, they beat the Vikings with Cooper Rush. He had 2 full practices. But a 48.7 completion percentage, that was the second worst of his career. He had a 73.7 passer rating. The last time he played a full game, he had a passer rating that bad or worse, was 64.2 against New England in 2019. Mike, he completed 8 of his first 23 passes for 102 yards and an interception, and then had those 2 meaningless late touchdown drives, which I wondered why he was still in the game, because you risk injury, especially if that calf is still messed up, is still hurting him a little bit, and we'll find out this week if he's still in the practice report. But whether it was or wasn't, I thought he should have been removed from the game, but perhaps they were trying to work out some of the rust. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but that 4th and 2 they had early in the game, it was the second 4th down they went for on their second possession. He threw the ball at the feet of Cedric Wilson. It wasn't even that hard of a throw, and I thought the ball was tipped, and he said afterwards, no, he just changed his arm angle because he saw some hands up in front of him. Whatever it was, he was just off. The defense added on to that. They missed 14 tackles, Dan Quinn just said, most of the season. This is a team that looked nothing like a Super Bowl contender, Mike, and I thought for being at home against the Denver Broncos team that's had trouble scoring, stopping other teams, I thought it was a hugely disappointing performance by Dak Prescott and the Cowboys both.
I blamed it earlier today on a failure of coaching and veteran leadership to get the attention of the Cowboys after they went to Minnesota and beat the Vikings with Cooper Rush. They started to believe their press clippings, and there may be many of the younger folks out there who don't know what the hell press clippings are. But they used to be a thing. It was the articles about you in the newspaper that you would clip out and put in a scrapbook. You start to believe that stuff. Hey, we're pretty damn good. Hey, the Broncos just traded their best player. They're not good. We can sleepwalk through this one. We get an extra hour of sleep last night. Wait, that's an extra hour to party. We're taking it easy this week. This is a bye week for us. We're going back to Dallas, and we're wearing the red stripe on our helmets, and we're going to kick some ass and take some names. And I feel like they weren't ready to play. They got blown off the field. It was a stunner. It was the biggest surprise of the weekend. For as good as the Cowboys had looked, they flipped it around, and they look like a team that has no business even being in the playoff conversation, and they better figure it out this weekend when the Falcons come to town. After that, they get the Chiefs, and then Thanksgiving against the Las Vegas Raiders. Big surprise for me, and you're going negative. I'm going positive today. We're changing our roles. I'm usually Dr. Doom. I was stunned by the Jaguars, especially because they go to London and beat Miami and get their win. They end their 20-game losing streak. They have a week off. They get 2 weeks to get ready for the Seahawks, facing Geno Smith and company on a short week after a Monday night game against the Saints. I thought the Jaguars were going to win last weekend. They get blown off the field by Seattle, and then they go home, fly cross country, get ready for the Bills, one of the best teams in football, and shut down the Buffalo offense. It was a thing of beauty if you like defensive football. No touchdowns, 5 field goals, 9-6 win. Josh Allen, the defensive end, just pissed off hearing about and being confused with Josh Allen, the quarterback. He showed up to play. And one thing I said to Josh Allen, the defensive end, after the game yesterday, it kind of reminds me of the first time I brought home straight A's. And my bubble was quickly burst when the questions were, why haven't you done this before? And now we expect it all the time. When the Jaguars play defensively like they did yesterday, we expect that kind of intensity every week, or it completely undermines what they managed to do against the Bills, Charean.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, where has this performance been all year? You go back to that season opening game against the Texans, and now you wonder, how did they lose to the Texans? But Josh Allen, the defensive end, was the best Josh Allen on the field. And I never in a million years thought I would say that. But I suspect, Mike, when we do our Defensive Players of the Week tomorrow, that we're going to be talking about Josh Allen as one of those players who was the best player on the field yesterday against Buffalo.
And Josh Allen, the quarterback, will not be one of the Offensive Players of the Week. Yes. That is for darn sure. Although it's really not on him. I feel like the offense is relying on him too much and expecting him to do too much, and he's trying to do too much. What's your next surprise?
I'm going to go with Jordan Love. And, maybe I didn't expect him to be all that, but this is a guy who's in the second year of the offense. And he went 19 to 34, 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. You go, okay, that doesn't sound horrible. But then you think about, they only scored 7 points. This is the 29th defense. Last week, going into the game, 29th defense in the NFL, 25th against the pass. And he was not good. And he got killed by the blitz. I mean, they blitz 51% of the time. It's the most blitzes a Green Bay quarterback has faced since 2017. And he just couldn't handle it, Mike. He couldn't handle the blitz.
Yeah, and look, it's going to take some time. And he's the one guy I've felt sorry for in this entire drama between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. He didn't ask to be drafted by the Packers. He didn't ask the Packers to trade up in round 1 to get him. He didn't ask to be the focal point of this tension between franchise quarterback, and organization. So I feel bad for Jordan Love, and I hope he gets a full chance at some point to show what he can do. Cleveland Browns, what the hell? Hey, why didn't they just get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. in the offseason? I know he was coming off of a torn ACL. You could have traded him for a conditional draft pick based upon how many games he's able to play or whatever. I feel like the Browns have been so afraid of Beckham going somewhere else and being great again that they didn't want to give him up, and they kept him around when they shouldn't have kept him around. Mary Kay Cabot, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, reported last week he first asked to be traded in the offseason. They said no. He asked multiple times during the season to be traded. They said no. Jay Glazer said yesterday he asked to be released last Monday. They said no. If he'd have been released last Monday, a lot easier for him to pick his next team because he becomes a free agent. This Monday, he becomes subject to waivers. So they finally get rid of him, and look what happens. They're great. And who cares? If he has 250 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns his first game, who cares? You have removed a dynamic from your team that was bringing you down, regardless of who's to blame. Could be him, could be Baker Mayfield, could be somebody else. Could be just a combination of events. It was just a bad situation and no one's to blame. Whatever the reason, they really should have done this a while ago. They really should have. And what many of us said last year, Charean, when Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL, and I know there was a certain degree of insensitivity to it. I think Baker Mayfield was right by calling out those who immediately said the Browns are better off without him because the guy's got a torn ACL. But they're better off without him. The way this Browns team is constructed, they're better off without him. And obviously, look at how they did yesterday with that weight lifted off their shoulders.
Yep, last season they made the playoffs without him. Almost a year ago to the day that we were talking just about that this is a team that's going to be better off without Odell, and they showed that again yesterday, Mike. It frees up to Baker Mayfield to go to the open receiver and not try to force passes into Odell, although as we saw in the video from his dad, Odell's dad, he is sometimes open, and Baker just didn't find him. It didn't work there. It just didn't work. Cut your losses, move on.
Smart for the Browns to do it, but it would have been smarter to do it sooner. Third surprise from you.
I'm going to go with the Saints, and they have to be, Mike, the most schizophrenic team in the league. This was a home game. They're coming off the big win against the Buccaneers. They're rolling. They look good. You look at their losses and look at their wins. They've beaten Green Bay, New England, Washington, Seattle, and Tampa Bay. Their losses are to Carolina, the Giants, and the Falcons. Are you kidding me? And Trevor Siemian, Sean Payton has shown he can win with any quarterback out there, whether it's Taysom, whether it's Siemian, whoever it is. But I don't know what to make of this team because they're so up and down. I think they can beat any team in the league. I think they can lose to any team in the league. And I also think they're going to be looking for a starting quarterback in the offseason. They're going to end up with an Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson or whoever it is. But I think they have a different quarterback next year.
Yeah, boy, wouldn't it be something if it is Russell Wilson and the Saints are one of the 4 teams that his agent mentioned in the offseason when he said, Russell Wilson doesn't want to be traded. But if he were, Bears, Cowboys, Raiders, Saints. Well, the other 3 teams are spoken for now. Saints won't be after this season. That would be something. Last one for me is the Tennessee defense. We were so focused on what the offense was going to look like without Derrick Henry, and it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Didn't need to be great. The defense stepped up and stymied the Rams offense. And we're getting to the point in the season, I think, where careful and delicate and diligent film study can make a difference. And I think that Mike Vrabel and company cracked the code on the Rams offense, knew how to beat the offensive line, knew how to anticipate the movements and the decisions of Matthew Stafford, and it worked out well. It's 2 straight weeks we've had a quarterback make a dumbass decision in his own end zone with the ball against the Titans. At some point, it's the Titans causing them to do it, Charean. At some point, it's not the quarterback being dumb. It's the Tennessee defense making them dumb temporarily.
Well, I think you have to put Vrabel in that Coach of the Year conversation just based on how his defense has turned it around from last year. They're playing really well. This is a team that couldn't get to the quarterback last year. They're doing it this year, and that's been the biggest difference for the Titans. Despite not having Derrick Henry, I think they've got a good chance now to go and contend in the AFC.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.